recent years, over the last decade or two, this problem has been worsening, and we have now reached the point where gun violence is the leading cause of death among kids and teens. The leading cause of death. That is something that we should never take as the new normal.
Today, America's top doctor declaring gun violence a public health crisis. Vivek Murthy says enough is enough. The Surgeon General is making this first-of-a-kind declaration with firearms, which are now, as you heard him say, the leading cause of death in children and teens, saying this issue should be addressed like deaths and injuries from tobacco and car crashes. Well, here at home, we are seeing gun violence continuing to plague our community. In fact, just over the weekend, 5 people were injured and 1 was killed after a shooting in downtown St. Louis. So to talk about this, joining me now, Reverend B.T. Rice, pastor of the New Horizons Seventh-day Christian Church, and James Clark with the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. So let's talk about what the Surgeon General said today, that more than a half of adults say that they or a family member have experienced a gun-related incident. So the question I have for you all, how as a community can we work to reduce gun violence, but also deal with the trauma that individuals already have, since so many people have experienced that?
First, I think that this declaration should have been made about 10 years ago, that we have been on this trajectory for a long time. I do think that now St. Louis, like every other major city, needs to look at the models that work. Neighborhood engagement on a consistent basis, it works. And we have got to be able to scale it up. Right now, neighborhood engagement in the St. Louis metropolitan area takes place on a concentrated basis in 4 neighborhoods. 4 by the Urban League and 4 with Mission St. Louis. There are 12 neighborhoods that needs this level of outreach immediately. There are 9 neighborhoods in St. Louis County, and there are 5 neighborhoods over in East St. Louis. We have the data. We know where the neighborhoods are. It's now time for us to get very, very serious about this, because, Corey, this does not self-regulate. And we've got to meet it right where it's happening. Then we have also got to begin to ask ourselves, where are these guns coming from? You know, how is it that more young men have access to guns than have wallets?
And Reverend Rice, how does the church play a role in this, in reducing the gun violence that we're seeing?
I think the church plays probably the largest role in all of this. We're so thankful for Urban League. We're thankful for NAACP and the other groups and organizations in our community. But there is no organization that can gather thousands and thousands of people on Sunday morning other than the church. So the church is the largest billboard that we have in our community. Therefore, we've got to start, and certainly the organization, James, that you started, Grill to Glory, is a entering wedge to involve the church. But we must do more. Church must be, every young person has somebody that attends church. And we have to tap into that.
And more on what the Surgeon General said today, nearly 80% of adults say that they stress about the possibility of a mass shooting, and half of the country's children are worried about a shooting happening in their school. So at your church, at the Urban League, how do you talk to the community about these stressors, that they're real, that they're feeling this way? And do you find that talking about these things actually kind of helps them get through their day, their week, their month? If they are stressing about gun violence, how do you guys approach that in talking out loud with them?
We work with Arches, and we have a licensed clinical therapist on staff, Miss Joy Camp, who does a phenomenal job working hand in hand with our gun violence de-escalation team. And they look at the mental health of the adversaries, but also we're looking at the mental health of the family members. See, it's not what a person has done, it's why did they do it. And so gun violence has become somewhat normalized. We are looking at how we can address the mental health needs, how we can pull cohorts of young men together and women now, so that they can begin to learn from each other's experiences. We have got to become more proactive, and we've got to be consistent, and we've got to get the resources into the neighborhoods where the behavior has taken hold. There is a subculture where guns are more acceptable than cell phones, or just as acceptable as cell phones. And we've got to meet it right there where it exists.
And Reverend, the church also a place is an outlet for people to talk about these stressors that they may be having when it comes to the gun violence.
No question about it. We have an organization in our church some years ago and continued for several years called Teen Talk. And at Teen Talk, it was, the young people would come together and they gave them an opportunity in church to express what they feel. I clearly remember when I asked them, how many of you, if you don't have a gun, but if you know of somebody, teenager, young person that has a gun, I was simply amazed that almost every hand went up. So these kids are exposed to these guns and all of the ammunition that goes along with it. But how does the church address it? Well, certainly we must give them an outlet to be able to express how they feel. Secondly, we've got to have some answers for them. Yeah. And we believe that the answer is that you accept that we all have a spiritual nature about us, and that many of these young people may not be able to explain it, but they know there's something that within that protects them or that gives them guidance. And we've got to tap into that something within, that higher power.
Yeah, and real quick, for people who want more information about anything that the Urban League can provide, programs and such, where can they go for that?
Oh, they can call area code 314-337-3683.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys?
Yeah, certainly. And we can, the St. Louis Clergy Coalition is still very viable and vibrant and active. And you can give us a call, area code 314-524-1244, and we can put them directly in touch with that. And
unfortunately, we know gun violence is not going away. We need to make strides to better our community. But this is a conversation we'll continue to have.
Thank you, Corey.
Gentlemen, thank you.